I'm going to introduce the next speaker. I was surprised when this next speaker came up to me and said, "I would love for you to introduce me." I want you to know that who's about to come out here truly is a stand for you. I met Ankush when I was on fumes. I met Ankush when I was grasping. When two men sit together across from each other, there's something that happens when you look into each other's eyes. And that was something that I experienced from Kush. There was a safety there. And there was an opportunity for me to open my mouth and speak. This man is shifting the consciousness of the planet for what it is that he's creating in his life and the lives of other people. I'm also really grateful to say that I'm part of the AJC alumni. And it's a school for global transformation. Coaches fill it. But there's something really deep that's happening within that school. And so I want to introduce Ankush Jain.
Infinite possibilities, see them coming with ease, flying up from the walls to the window. And I know it's true and beyond. It's inside.
Hello. Thank you for that, Sundance. Here we are again. I was just mentioning to a few of the people in the room earlier how I'd met them exactly a year ago over here, and how it's January again, a year's gone by, and just how much has changed. And it's funny because I was just kind of backstage listening to Stephen, and it's been interesting. This is the fourth time I've spoken at an Ultimate Experience event. And the way I've prepared has changed every single time. So the first time I spoke was in Mumbai in 2022. And I was really stressed about it. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to be on stage with all these people, and I've got to do a good job, and it's a big audience. And I was kind of writing things down, and I don't know if many people know this, but I was having a low-key panic attack, going, oh, maybe I should call it off and not speak on stage, but I managed to get through it, and I just had some bullet points, and like, here are some good things that Steve said, so if I say them, then they'll come across okay, and people will like that. And then last year, Judy had asked me to speak at this event, so okay, great, so I had again a few bullet points, but I felt a bit more relaxed. I'd done this before, so I could do it again. And I remember Alok, who will be speaking here tomorrow, such a beautiful man, said, "Wow, you've really changed since Mumbai. Like a year's gone by, and you're so different." And I did feel different. And now, then I spoke in Birmingham last year, and now it's been another year, and so part of me is like, I've got to do a really good job because I want Alok to say the same thing again. But nothing's coming out. So but I'm trusting that. It's a funny thing because I didn't want to kind of force it. So Judy had asked me last year if I would speak, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. And she goes, I'd really love for you to talk about acknowledgement. And it's something that I've posted about online and I've spoken about. And then she's saying, would you like slides? Do you want to put up stuff on, any clips or anything? And I said, I have no idea what I'm going to say. And I said, even up until the morning, and Steve and I had a session this morning, so I'm like, that could change everything. But I still don't know what I'm going to say. So Stephen said to me, he goes, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And I went, me too. Like, we'll go on this journey together. We'll find out. Some people know I post online. But, I normally write a post when I'm flying over to Phoenix, and it's a good time for me to just reflect on what's happened since I was here last time. And a few years ago, Steve, and those of you being coached by Steve know, he won't step over the gold, is how he calls it. If he sees something, he'll lovingly let you know. And I'd written about, coming over here and working with Steve and the impact of the sessions I was having. And Steve said, "You're missing someone out in your posts." And he said, "You're missing your wife out when you're posting about coming here, and you might want to acknowledge her." And so being a good client, I said, "Yeah, of course, Steve, I'll do that." And so the next time I was flying over, I wrote this post, completely didn't write anything about her. And then I thought, oh, no, Steve's going to pick me up on this. So then I went back and edited the post and added this paragraph. And then when I spoke here last year, again, I'm a good client. I made sure when I spoke, I'm going to acknowledge my wife. And I was doing acknowledgement. I was speaking in Birmingham in May at the Ultimate Experience event, and it was the first time my wife was in the audience. And she told me, don't talk about me, right? Like, she's a very private person. And so I was like, well, I've got to talk about you. People seem to like it, So I spoke about her, and people came back and they were like, wow, we really liked that bit. We really liked the bit where you acknowledged your wife. But here's what people may not know, or people may not have seen, is behind the scenes, was I really being that every single day? No. I was on a journey. And I'm not saying it was wrong or it was bad, that's just where I was at. And if I reflect back in terms of where I'm at now, compared to where I was in May, there's been a huge shift. So I'm going to risk the little cage, and I'll pull my phone out. Hopefully you won't rugby tackle me and take it off me. And my wife messaged me before, I just sent her a picture earlier on, and so the first line is really important. You look very handsome, so I've got to make sure I say that. And then she said, "You are awesome. You are changing the consciousness of the planet. You are a master of your craft, and you keep getting better." Those are lines from my document. This is a woman who's so supportive of me that not once has she said, "You shouldn't come here and do this." And I'm away for 10 days at a time, and I travel to the States 5 or 6 times a year. My wife has a senior job in a bank. She's looking after our son at home, and she doesn't complain. She's incredible. And I said this last year, but I'll say it again. For all of us in this room, there are people who have enabled us to be here. As Stephen was speaking, I'm here thinking, wow, what would it be like to lose everything? And we take so many things for granted. I'm lucky, I'm fortunate that my little boy is 5 years old, but I'm a little bit older dad than many of my friends. And so I get to learn from their experiences. And the other day, he was like, "Can you give me, pick me up? Can you, pick him up the stairs?" And my wife was like, let him walk, don't let him pick him up. And in my head, I was thinking, I don't know when the last time I'm going to pick him up is. So it's okay. Like with Stephen, he had no, I'm guessing, thought that he would lose his house. And for me, what I'm here thinking is, what if I don't need to lose everything to realize the value of it? So when I talk about acknowledgement today, I don't want you to hear about it as like a doing. And people see that when they enter our community and they look at the Facebook group and they'll see these acknowledgement posts. And I've had many people say to me, is that real? Like, is that just a thing that these people do? I acknowledged someone who was a former mentor of mine. I acknowledged him a couple of years ago, and he said, "Is this just the being thing that you guys do now?" And I said, "Kinda." But it's true. And just because something isn't normal, it's not something that most people do, does that mean it's wrong, or is it bad, or we shouldn't be doing it? In fact, as I've stepped into acknowledgements, what I've seen is it's not so much about acknowledging, but it's more about stopping myself. There's some wonderful things that we see about people close to us, people that we've just met for the first time. And maybe it's just me, but so many times I would just not say anything. Oh, what if they don't like it? Or what if they get offended? Or, what if it comes out wrong? And I really believe that if we just change this one thing, and there's some incredible speakers here this weekend, and any one speaker, if you really listen to them, would be worth the value of the ticket. You'd get the value that you came here to get. So this isn't a comparison thing, but if the only thing you took from this entire weekend was being willing to acknowledge people, which really means be willing to love them more, if that's the only thing we did and we went out into the world, that's not a small shift. That's not a small change. It's tangible. Steve recommends books to me from time to time, and one of the books he recommended to me, which has had a really big impact on me, is a book called Real Love in Marriage by Greg Bear. Highly recommend it. And in the book, he talks about how we all crave unconditional love. Every single one of us. And yet, virtually nobody has ever received this. Love is always given to us as a condition. Right from when we're kids, behave. We love you, but don't misbehave. We love you, but do well in school. We love you, but don't make us look bad. And you get a bit older, your friends, you get friendships, and it's like, again, there's conditions there. You get into a relationship, there's conditions there. And we crave that. So when I'm talking about acknowledgements today, I don't want to talk about the doing of acknowledgements. And if you do acknowledgements, that's better than not doing acknowledgements. We are where we are. But I want to really, what I'm talking about is loving people. And there's nothing greater than that. It's funny, one of the things that people know that I do is I run immersions for men. And this may not be a good advert for that, but I'm going to say it anyway. I was on my last immersion, and I've been talking more and more as I've been seeing this for myself. I've been talking more and more about bringing love into our marriages, bringing love into our relationships, acknowledging our spouse, acknowledging our partners. And those of you who know Steve and Amy know they have a song that's their song. And Steve had sent me this song, it's Perfect by Ed Sheeran. And there's a version with Andrea Botticelli, I think that's how you pronounce his name. And I play it. This is a room full of men, right? We spend a week together, and You know, people must assume that we go out in the woods or something and do like man stuff or whatever, right? Because we're just sitting there, we're having a conversation. And there's a lot of context to this, so this isn't just like I play a song, you know, that I'm kind of giving you the short version. But we listen to this song and we're talking about that love. And we're all in tears. And men are leaving the room going, I need to call my wife. And we can all do that. It doesn't cost us anything. And Steve will tell me there is a cost. But it doesn't cost us anything to tell someone you love them. It doesn't cost us anything to go up and give someone a genuine, heartfelt acknowledgement or appreciate them. And so many times we don't do that. I asked a client of mine recently, I said, does it look like to you that my trajectory is like a straight line, whether that was business or my personal life or something? And he said, it doesn't look like a straight line, but it looks like you've kind of got everything together. How many people think that they look at someone else in the room, it's like, oh, they've got all their stuff together, right? I've never met anyone like that. And I told my client a few stories, and I was like, yeah, it's not like that. And one of the things I really value about both the book, and I told Amy this, you know, I think it was the first time I met her after I'd read the book, was just how real it was. It wasn't sugar-coated. There was real stuff in there about their relationship and how it wasn't easy. And that was really useful for me because I was like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. It's like I used to think everyone else had it all figured out, and it was me. I was the one that didn't have it. I was the one that was struggling. And so someone I want to acknowledge is me. But when I say that, I want you to all do that for yourself. Every single one of you could be doing something else today. Whether it's the speakers, whether it's the organizers, whether it's the attendees, every single one of us, we could be somewhere else. There's a lot of places in the world that you could be. And instead, you've given your time, energy, and resources to be here. A lot of people wouldn't do that. And just to be here, there's been a long journey. You haven't just decided to come. I was not in this venue, but I was at the Ultimate Experience a year ago, and I was listening to some of the speakers, and people have had challenges. People spoke on the stage about them. And I know in this room, so many of you could be up here. This isn't about speakers are up here and, you know, we're teaching or anything. There are so many people in this room who could share their story and we'd all be so deeply impacted and who won't be on the stage. So I request that each one of you acknowledges yourself for whatever you've done to be here. I was lucky to be invited a few minutes earlier before we opened the doors, and a few speakers were here, and we just had a run through of the day, and then we blessed the space. And I didn't expect it, but I got really emotional. And I was just standing up here, and I was looking around, and we were asked to go and bless every single chair in the room. And every speaker went through every single chair and we blessed each chair. And I was getting really emotional about it. And then Steve Bacon, I can't see where he is, but Steve Bacon, Elijah, sorry. Just checking you were listening. Gave me an acknowledgement. And I was like, man, you're going to tip me over the edge. Because I was standing here thinking, man, if the guy I was, whatever, 20 years ago, gets to come here and do this, like, wow, that's a journey. And it hasn't been easy. And when I mean it hasn't been easy, I don't mean like, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, things were difficult, but like now I'm flying high. It's all great. Join my program and you can be invincible like me too. It's not what I'm saying. A few weeks ago, my wife and my son, we were on holiday, and I won't go into the details, but I messed up badly. And my wife was telling me stuff she's told me loads of times before. But I actually heard her. And I started to see what Steve was pointing to when he said, you're not acknowledging your wife. And it suddenly shifted, something in my head changed from, this isn't a doing. I've been blessed to have an incredible woman by my side. And I just hadn't seen it. And that's what the mind does. It creates these thoughts, and then we go, oh, that one's true. That's how it must be. But it's just made up. Steve said to me, and you've probably heard him say this, doubt your doubts. Doubt your doubts, don't doubt your declarations. I have a powerful set of declarations. My wife reflected some of them back to me. My first line in my document is so powerful for me. I am loved and I am loving. I could give you so many examples when I haven't been that. It's not about perfection. And every now and then a thought may arise of like, see, you're not that. But it's just a thought. Whatever we put our focus on, that grows. So we can either nurture and grow our doubts and our fears and our insecurities, or we can nurture and grow our declarations, our highest self, the best version of ourselves. Some of you know that in my Be With session with Steve in 2021, he gave me an exercise at the end of the session where he wanted me to fill a legal pad with acknowledgements of myself. My hand nearly fell off after doing that. It was like 5 days of just writing. But by the end of it, something had shifted and I'd reprogrammed. And I was feeling really good about myself. And I wrote a post on Facebook, like trying to be vulnerable. And I wrote like, well, what if it goes away? And Steve called me out on it immediately. Yeah, it will go away if you don't nurture it. Whatever we focus on grows. This is why our documents are so powerful. One of the things that I know to be true, just 100% is every single person who is in this room, every single one. You're complete. You are whole. You're not broken. It doesn't matter what's happened to you. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter what someone said to you once. That's not who you are. That's not your essence. I know that because every single line of my document isn't about me. Every single line of my document is a universal truth. So I have a line in my document that I'm a child of God. Well, so is everyone else here. And if we all operate from that place of being, then the acknowledgements we give, they're also felt from that place. They go beyond a doing and fall into a space of, I see you. Do you know what a gift it is to be really seen? Like, who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to be seen as the highest version of themselves? I don't know anyone like that. So what's the foundation of all of this? If acknowledgement is love, if acknowledgement is really seeing the person, what's the foundation of it? And my experience of that has been self-love. You cannot give away anything you don't have. And you all have that. In some of my programs, I call it enlightened selfishness. I tell my clients, be selfish, really love yourself. Because from that place, you have so much to give to everyone else, you overflow with it. Now, who's up for a creation? Now, all this is just flowing through me, by the way. This is not planned. So is everyone up for a creation? So we can create something really powerful this weekend. And normally I do this with a smaller group, but we're going to do it with a bigger group today. We can create a space over the next 3 days where we see actively and look for the best in the other people that we see around us. So you can come to this event and say, oh, well, I'm here for me, and oh my God, did you see what she's wearing? And oh man, God, I can't believe that person said that. And you can come from judgment. And we'll create that together. That's what the space will be. But we can also come from a place of, let me see the best in everyone. Let me see the highest version of them. Let me give someone infinite leeway, infinite benefit of the doubt. Knowing that at their core, they are perfect, complete, and whole. And so are you. Now, if we all did that, the entire energy of this entire event would completely change. And that's not just about this event. If someone watches this recording, you can do that anywhere you're at. You can do that in your company. You can do that in your home. You can do that with your friendship circle. Who's up for playing that game? I've got 5 minutes left, but like Stephen, I think I'm going to defer. I've got coming to completion on this, and there's just one final thing I want to say to every single person in this room. I love you. I believe we're now going to go into a break. Judy asked me to say, as you go into the break, make sure you look for something to acknowledge someone on. And I would say, even deeper than that, just love people. Thank you.